Thank you for joining me today, Sonja.
My pleasure.
So, how's it been going today so far? You're a coach for vision impaired tennis, but you've also been doing some umpiring today as well.
Yeah, I jumped on court, umpired one match, which was really good. As a coach, you're always in the stands, so coming down as an umpire gives you that different perspective. So it's been cool.
There's not been any attempt at bias with any of your trainees, like?
No. Look, you've got to get them in the right environment, because later on, if they do get bad calls from the umpire, they've got to learn to deal with it and move on. So yeah, I was definitely strict on my guys.
Definitely strict. Stricter? Do you find yourself being strict? Is it hard to sort of take that away, or do you actually find it kind of fun being like, I get to do this to you?
I guess for me, I want them to improve and I want them to have the best experience and the right experience. It's if I go out there and give them points in that, they're not learning. They're not going to challenge themselves. So it's fun being strict, but at the same time, I enjoy seeing them develop as players.
It's a different perspective, not even just like on an actual physical different location, but you get to look at their game a bit differently. Have you been like noticing there's something that you can take away from being able to umpire?
Yeah, well, with the guys that I've been coaching recently, I've only been coaching blind and low vision tennis in general the last 4 months, and coming from a mainstream coaching environment, I remember my first blind and low vision tennis session I coached. I went out to the guys, and a lot of times in mainstream, you're telling these guys to keep their eye on the ball and watch that ball into the middle of the strings. And I'm telling you right now, for someone who's, vision impaired, or they rely more on their hearing, which is a typical B1 player, it's not going to work for them.
No.
So I really did have to learn to adapt my coaching. And like I said before, umpiring and being kind of on the same ground level and not watching from the grandstands, you get to see things from a different perspective.
So you have how many boys are you coaching? It's all boys?
Well, in New South Wales, we have at least 10 guys playing weekly, and then we've got at least 4 girls that play as well.
Right.
It's just that boys are playing this state.
Yep, here today. And then we're doing mixed today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
We are doing mixed, yep. So have you trained for mixed before, or have you just mostly been doing...
I think when it comes to, gender and abilities, it doesn't make much of a difference.
Yep.
Even today we had one of the New South Wales boys come up against one of the South Australian girls, and she beat him, I think it was like 4-0 or something like
4-0.
that. Like, smashed him.
Short girl, blonde hair?
I can't remember. She had it in a ponytail, but she did have blonde hair.
That might have been my sister. Candice, she's playing today.
Potentially, yes. I think it was either Candice or Courtney, but I feel like Candice played. Yes, it must have been her.
Right, because I come in and she's like, I got one that's 4 love, my favour, 4 love, and their favour. I'm like, wow, both under protector.
Yeah. No, so she did incredible, and tennis is amazing because you look at what your abilities are, what your strengths are, and you're playing against, your opponent's strengths. And it's that little puzzle game. You got to work out your weaknesses, and whether you're male or female, or, whatever you identify as, whether your, vision isn't, you're not fully sighted or whatever it is, you're treating each person as who they are, and then you're separating their strengths and weaknesses on the tennis court. Yep. Which is it's an incredible thing to see.
It has to be quite a varied job too, because you say you got 10 guys and 4 girls and they're all vision impaired, but they would all be across the whole spectrum, B1 to B4, and different vision impairments as well. Going into this, you go from blind, you can't see, to realizing, that means 100 different things.
Yeah, it definitely, you've got to adapt so much, and the best way to adapt and provide the best coaching is to communicate with your players, and that's why I found, because I don't know what it feels like to be in their body, and to see through their vision, and so communicating, getting them to describe to me, when you on the serving action, if you throw that ball up in the air, when do you lose track of that ball? Do you then have to throw a shorter ball or a higher ball? Mm-hmm. And then, if you, obviously then as a coach, if you're throwing a shorter ball, I know the technique you've got to do in order to get that ball in. Player might not know that, but the player knows, okay, I can, see the ball and, I'm able to see it there. So I'm going to use that, listen to my coach. So you kind of work together as a team. But like I said, you really have to make adjustments with how you coach your players, and especially if their abilities vary, it's not that black and white. It's not the one same rule for everyone, which is quite cool.
Now, you said you were playing tennis before you were coaching. You said you had been playing for, what was it? How long did you say?
I played 5 years on tour,
Yep.
so played on the professional tour for 5 years, and then obviously had to stop because of the injuries. But I've been playing tennis since I was 7 years old, so it's a lot of years.
Yeah, over 15 years, right?
Yeah.
So, what kind of injuries did you, if you don't mind talking about your injuries, what kind of injuries do you have that sort of took you out of the game for a while?
Oh, do you want the long list or the short?
As long as you want. Like, if you want to go into the gruesome detail, I'll have to probably edit it down if you go too far. But...
Yeah, no, I mean, all places, plantar fascia under the foot, rolled ankles, sprained ankles, broken ankles in the bone, bruised bones, disc bulge in the L4, L5 in the back.
Mostly like legs and back?
Everything. I haven't even got into the upper body yet. Shoulders, rotator cuffs, ligaments. My biggest one that ended my career was I tore my cartilage in my wrist, and obviously I'm a right-hander, and you definitely need your wrist a lot in tennis. And then I ended up got pains into my elbow and got golfer's elbow. So it was just, I really got the whole package.
There was no consideration to try and adapt to your left hand and like switch up your game style, or you just sort of think that's a good way to go out at the point?
No, look, I've been playing tennis for already, 15 years, as you calculated before. Thank you for doing that, because that isn't my forte. And, I was competing on the world tour, to change and go left-handed, you're starting from scratch. And you do have your peak times for tennis. So, yeah, I realise there's life after sport, and I'm so glad it's brought me here, because I get to give people opportunities that were given to me when I was younger, and it really makes my work worthwhile.
So was it just tennis, or did you do anything else?
Just tennis.
Just tennis. Wow, that big list of injuries. You wouldn't think non-contact sport you'd get that many injuries, but did you find yourself more injury prone, or did you have like others around you that also got really injured like that quite often?
It's something you always see in sport. Tennis is quite a physical sport. I had one of the actually our team manager who's here today does a lot of physical exercise and training sessions with the boys, and he asked me, he goes, what do you need in tennis? Do we focus on agility or strength? And I went, agility, strength, endurance, power, flexibility, like it's the whole lot.
You've got to be fast and nimble, don't you? Because even just like getting to one end of the court and then stopping so suddenly, the ball's gone from here to there.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What kind of training have you found works best? Do you do anything specific? Like, have you got like, HIIT training, or have you been looking at like, what's it called, CrossFit, anything like that? Or is it just been more on the technical side of things that you've been focusing on?
So for me at the moment, the guys, I only see them once a week, unfortunately. We're looking to get more sessions in, but at the moment I'm focusing on the technique, and I guess the game tactics. And then, the boys play a lot of sports anyway, so they're getting their physical fitness in. They play a range of different sports. So in the different sports that they play, they're focusing on the strength, the flexibility, and a lot of them, like I said, work with our team manager at the moment doing fitness sessions. So, I'm happy for them, to do that off court, and when they come on court with me, you work on that, what I said, the communication, you work on that relationship where you understand each other, and then from there, you learn, they learn what technique they need to do well in court.
Right, so what's the ratio like? Are they all like, were they athletes before they were doing tennis? Did you have anyone coming in who was just new to being into sport, or?
So the best part about getting into this group was that they were all pretty much elite athletes beforehand. So in terms of trying to get them to work really, really hard, there was no issue with that, which was awesome.
My people type deal. It's like, yes.
Yeah,
I know you.
Exactly. It was like when you go to Krispy Kremes and you get, your 12-pack of donuts, and you go, yes, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to really enjoy this. With an allergy, but I love my food.
No, we actually sell Krispy Kreme at where I work. We sell Krispy Kreme at the service station I work at.
Great. So, well, I know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
I know. Believe me, it's weird what we sell at that place.
Yeah.
But I totally get what you mean. You get that Krispy Kreme packet, it's like awesome. It's everything you want.
Yeah,
right there.
exactly.
You understand it. Nothing special, no thrills. Just you get it.
Yeah, and a lot of the players that we have, they have the option whether they want to come to tennis or not, and they choose to come to tennis. And not just to compete, on the pro tour at these events, but it's to socialize. They've created such amazing friendships between each other, and it's really an outlet from everyday life. They kind of get to break away from all the stress or hard work they've done and really enjoy themselves, which is I'm really happy to be a part of it.
So some of them apparently knew each other before joining tennis. Did you find that there was any like weird social barriers, or it was like that you almost felt cliquey, or was it just open from the start?
It was open from the start. You had those relationships, friendships that were really close, and then you'd have a couple of new people come in because tennis has been, growing the interest in the sport, and you get a few new people in. But these guys understand what it feels like to be, excluded or haven't had those opportunities, and to come into a new group. And so they're super friendly right from the get-go. Whenever the new person's hit a really good shot, they're like, yeah, well done, good stuff. And they're really welcoming. They understand, I guess, how important the sense of belonging is for a person.
So you said that it was February when you started doing coaching for blind and vision impaired sport. How did you get involved in that, from tennis, injury, playing, recovery, up to joining and coaching for blind and vision impaired?
Yeah. So during my career, as many tennis players do, they do a bit of coaching on the side. I ended up getting a job as a coach in a mainstream club, and then obviously I was at university studying, and then earlier on mid this year, I finished my master's degree in sports management, and at my university's University of Technology Sydney, so UTS is the acronym. At the UTS Open Day, I was running the tennis club. And then the CEO of Blind Sports New South Wales came up to me and said, if you were interested in maybe coaching or working for us. And then through that connection, I ended up becoming a programs manager, now operations manager at Blind Sports New South Wales. And then through that, the CEO, Murray, asked me if I could take over the tennis sessions. And I said, yeah, for sure. So it was definitely a roller coaster. I learnt a lot and still am learning a lot. So, we said it's a developing game, and things are always changing, which makes it, it's part of the fun.
Right. And so, do you see you doing this long term, or is this something you see yourself doing for quite some time?
One of the things I love doing in life is giving back and being able to see people develop, from the advice you give them, or the support and the help. And I think that's a really important thing that human beings have. They're able to help other people, both directly and indirectly. And so coaching's, I think it's, been a big part of my life, and I see myself maybe not doing it as a, full-time job. I say that now, but you never know. But it'll always be part of my life.
So outside of, because obviously you were an elite athlete before, so that was a lot of your time would be devoted to just keeping up, fitness-wise, let alone technique-wise, and then actually touring. Now that you're a coach and only obviously once a week, what are you finding that you're doing with your time now that you don't have that sporting schedule anymore?
Yeah, I came out of uni and I went, I've got to get a job. COVID was like, good luck. But like I said, the CEO offered me a position as a programs manager for Blind Sports New South Wales, and was doing that sort of part-time. And then just recently a new role, because the organisation was growing, they needed an operations manager to oversee, I guess, the operations of the business, and was lucky enough to get selected for that. So that's been pretty much full-time now, along with the tennis, and I still coach my fully sighted players at the main club that I coach at in the city. Right. So busy person. Busy.
It's all relating to this one little bubble here then, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, not bad considering. You got injured and you still didn't technically get out, did you? You're still in it.
Yeah. I remember the day I officially quit, because tennis players go through this mental phase where they go, I don't want to play anymore and all this sort of stuff, I'm quitting. But the day I realised that I did quit and that was it for me, I was like, I'm never playing tennis again. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to coach. I actually took about a 6-month break away from it, and just kind of studied at uni, and then did other stuff other than tennis. But then, life has a funny way of bringing you back into the things that you're supposed to do.
Uni, what did you study?
Did a Bachelor's of Sports and Exercise Science Management, and then went into a Master's degree in Sports Management.
Right, so were you looking at like coaching PT stuff as like a life goal anyway?
I did do a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness through TAFE during my bachelor's. Like I said, I enjoyed the coaching side of it. It is quite strenuous, and with my, I guess my achievements of injuries, I like to call them now, putting a positive note on it, I just realised that coaching was something that, if you get injured, you can't coach anymore, so it wasn't very sustainable. I couldn't rely on it, and so went to go see what I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed managing and being able to organise things, and I was good at it. So initially, I was very interested in the sports science side of things, but then ended up finding a greater interest in sports management.
It's funny that you mentioned the injury thing. My mother is actually a coach for softball, but she just she broke her knee earlier this year.
Oh, and she's got the cast.
She's the cast,
oh,
yeah.
No.
You would walk past.
I saw
her.
the crutches and I was like, PTSD.
I know that all too well, especially on the tennis court.
Yeah.
Bad combination for you, I'm assuming. But she hasn't been able to coach, so they haven't really been able to get out there and do anything because you don't realise how physical your coaches can get sometimes.
Exactly.
All right, so when did you finish uni?
I finished this year in June.
Right. Okay. So it was right up till June that you were doing it, and you got the job in February. So there was a bit of overlay.
Well, in February, actually, I went out to the tennis sessions because they had just started with another coach, and I just went out to kind of just suss things out, see what it was all about, and to learn. And then it wasn't really until June actually that I ended up getting the coaching job. And they asked me to, actually, it's not a job, I volunteer my time. But yeah, they've asked me to take care of the team. And yeah, so since June, I've been honoured to have that role.
4 months then? 4 months you've been doing this?
Yes.
And how have you been seeing your boys improving in those 4 months? How do you feel about how they're doing out there at the moment?
Yeah, well, not just the boys, but the whole team at New South Wales. It is just, they've improved immensely. From even when I first saw them in February. And so, like I said, they're choosing to go out there, they're choosing to better themselves. And so with that discipline, like we said before with the crispy greens, you're getting everything you want, from your students. So, which is good. And because of that, they're able to find their abilities and know their strengths. And even today, I'm seeing them. They were a bit nervous in the start, but I said, you've got to be confident. Think about, visualize, what you do in training and what you do well. Go out and try implement that. And I'm so impressed with how the boys were able to recoup after the first couple of matches, and then a couple of them ended up winning the next 2 or 3. And it's a learning experience.
Well, hopefully if Oscar's gone well, because we interviewed Oscar first, he's won his 4th and maybe even his 5th match by now.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get a couple of wins, you get to take him home again.
Yeah, no, it'd be good.
Right, because this is their first competition, isn't it? This
Yes.
is their first proper event at all. So the last 4 months have been for this essentially, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they never stops, right? Getting nervous before a big competition. No matter how many elite level athletes and how many elite competitions they do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even in different sports, and I kind of asked them, and they actually some of them have different strategies as well, how they combat those nerves for different sports. Obviously, the pre-match routine is different. The structure of sport and their events is different, and so you have to adapt your strategies on how to combat nerves, or even if you're too excited, and you've got to calm yourself down. So, like I said, it's a massive learning experience for them, and hopefully, after these first state championships, they get to learn a bit more about themselves as athletes.
All right, beautiful. Well, I think that's everything I wanted to ask you. Is there anything that you wanted to say to the camera before we ended today? Want to shill for the company?
No, I mean, well, no, I just, the blind sports in general, in every state, everyone's doing, it's a new thing coming up. It's difficult from a New South Wales perspective, trying to raise that awareness, engage people. It is quite difficult, but if you get the right people behind it, at the end of the day, sport can get very political, but like I said, at the end of the day, if you get the right people behind it and understand why you're doing what you do, stuff like, what's happening out on the courts behind us, those opportunities play a very big impact on people's lives. And for some people, this is probably the first and maybe the last tournament they'll ever play, and it'll be a big part of their lives and impact them as people.
Something that can carry them.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's important, to always push through and work with each other. I think it's important to collaborate. State sporting organisations, national bodies as well. If we work together, then we're stronger in producing these opportunities.
None of the no one in the disability sector is going to succeed by alienating themselves from anyone else.
Exactly. We've done enough exclusion.
Yep.
It's all about inclusion now, and not just with our athletes or people who engage in events. It's with the organisations as well.
The organisers, the coaches, the people who even just come around to the house and help clean and help look after every
100%.
little detail
100%.
matters. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I'm not sure if you have any more matches to coach today, to umpire today, or are you done for the day?
No umpiring today, but it'll definitely be a bit of coaching.
Yep.
And I look forward to watching the doubles later on.
All right. Beautiful. Well, I hope that goes well for you and your boys, eh?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, once again thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, then let us know about it. Like the video, comment below, and share it about. If you liked it so much you want to see more like it, then just subscribe to the My Disability Sport YouTube channel. And if you want to show us a little bit of extra support, head on over to Facebook and give us a like there as well, where we'll keep you up to date on everything that My Disability Sport is doing in the future. As for Sonja, her team, and a whole bunch of other amazing athletes from New South Wales, head on over to either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and look for Blind Sport NSW, which I'm told, and I could be wrong about this, NSW stands for New South Wales. If you want to see more interviews from the same tennis tournament, we've already got an interview with Maddie McNeil up on the channel, with another interview coming your way very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Regardless of what you do though, always remember to stay safe, stay active, and stay healthy.